on.
Sock Passe.
What's going on, world? Welcome to another episode of the Team Sock Passe podcast. My name is Glad.
And I'm your boy, Rob. We are your favorite Team Sock Passe podcast show where we interview great entrepreneurs from all sectors of industry. Remember, subscribe, share, comment below. Subscribe, share, and then you can comment, and then you'll see what's below. Glad, what's up?
That's what's going on. We got a great episode for you guys today. We're going to be talking about an awesome topic, Black men in media. We have our brother, Alex Zephyr, journalist. What's up, my brother?
Nothing much, baby. How we feeling?
Hey, we're doing good. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for coming through.
Of course.
All right, cool.
How you been, man? As Rob would say.
Yeah.
How was your week?
How was your week?
It was pretty good, man. Pretty busy.
Mhm.
Obviously, as a writer or a journalist, I'm always trying to stay on top of current events.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple of different projects going on in the world, obviously. So you have what's going on with Yeezy. Yeezy's keeping me busy.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about that.
And then we also have the Black Panther movie coming out soon. And so Marvel Studios and Black Panther Sprite reached out to me and said, we want you to help promote this stuff in terms of the value that Black women and brown women help make that project happen.
Mm.
So doing that, have some work coming down the pike with Roy Wood Jr. For those of you who might not know, he's one of the Black correspondents on The Daily Show with Trevor Noah. Just spoke with Sanaa Lathan about her movie On the Come Up. We talked about women in hip hop and how hip hop movies are so popular even in today and what that means in terms of coming of age. That was actually her directorial debut. So there's a bunch of things going on, man.
Got you. Let people know out there what outlet you write for.
Oh, so I write for Cassius Media. And Cassius Media, we focus primarily on Black men. Now, it's stuff for everybody. So no matter who you are, there's something there of value for you. But we target Black men. It's under the I1 Digital umbrella. So our sister sites include Gossip, Hip Hop Wired, Madame Noir, Hello Beautiful, Global Grind, News One. We also reacquired Black Planet. For those of you who,
Okay.
Wow.
So all of those sites, all of those brands fall under the I1 Digital umbrella. And I write primarily for Cassius Life. And yeah, that's been dope.
So let's get right into it. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go, bro.
Oh,
Come on.
how long you been writing? How long you been a journalist?
Man, so I started that out. I don't want to date myself too much, but I really started out in college about 2002.
Okay.
Right. And I'd written for All Hip Hop, for people who are familiar, Elemental. So that's a really older one.
Wow.
And my boy, he has a magazine called Impose Magazine. And they were focused on a lot of underground music, indie hip hop, indie rock. And he said, listen, I don't have a lot of money, but what I can do is if you want creative control or creative direction, I can give you that. And so we started doing that. He started it. He brought me on board. And ever since then, I've always been writing. In the background, I've jumped in and out of corporate. I've done sales. I've done everything else. But my heart always brought me back to media and to writing.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm just going to get right into it.
Yeah.
Black men in media. I guess, Rob, since we've been doing this podcast, we're considered Black men in media, right?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about it. But before us, man, we got to talk about our boy Kanye West. let's get into it, man. I mean, from what I've understand. I mean, he went out. He was it his fashion show or
no? It was the Paris fashion show.
Balenciaga.
Balenciaga, right?
It was a Balenciaga fashion show,
right? At Paris Fashion Week.
Okay, so was he in? Did he style for it? I mean, I don't understand. All I remember was just seeing the White Lives Matter, right? But it was he designed for Balenciaga. Like, I don't give me the gist about that if you know any information on that.
Yeah. So he's actually been a partner with I forget the creative director there, Denver something or other. I can't pronounce the last name.
Okay.
And as you know, Kanye is moving into fashion more.
Mm-hmm.
So he has Yeezy Gap, and he also has stuff that he's been doing with Adidas. and he had his models wear this White Lives Matter shirt, and he and Candace Owens also came out rocking the shirt, and that's really been the spark of the controversy.
And your take on that?
Right on the spot, man. It's tough. As a journalist, I'm a big believer in free speech. That's a hard part, right? People have the right to say what they want to say, as long as they justify it.
Right.
He's definitely sparked the conversation. Is it his right to wear the shirt? I think it is. Controversial take, but yeah, it is. Why shouldn't it be his right to wear it? That doesn't mean that decisions don't come without consequence. And then in speaking to him, the question becomes, well, why did you wear it? So the first question is, do I think he has a right to wear it? 1,000%. Everyone has the right to wear what they want to wear, unless you're like working at some job and says this is the uniform. It's his show. He designed the clothing. He wants to wear it. By all means, knock yourself out. Now, when he's in front of the cameras and they say, well, why did you wear it? That's where we start to break apart the thought process. Is he just trolling people? I think Van Lathan says that. If he's just trolling black people, then it's not his wearing the shirt which is the problem. It's his why for wearing the shirt which is the problem. If he's really feels like that's the shirt to wear, then knock yourself out. That's my take on it, though.
Your take on it, Rob? I'll give you my take in a minute.
I didn't understand it. I was trying to, and my thing is, I try to look at both sides. You know, people like bashing him, but at the same time looking at it like, again, like you said, why? Why did he do it? Is it a mockery of Black Lives Matter, or like what's the purpose behind it? It created. This dude is a genius. He's a genius. He created conversation, which we are having right now. He's creating marketing. So I'm just like what's really behind it? At the end of the day, seriously, I really didn't care. I was just like, all right, it's easy. Like,
it didn't piss you off?
It pissed me off, but I think it's because of who he is. I'm just like, I'm not surprised. And also of what he's going through mentally. So, you know, everyone is just like, oh yeah, let him, you know, whatever. Like, he's like, they literally said he's no longer in the black community. Like, you remember that Dave Chappelle episode where this is like, we trade Kanye West for.
Right. But that's why I disagree with you. I don't think there's anything wrong with him mentally. I think Kanye he's mentally sound and he's okay. I think he did this just to spark. I think he has other reasons, but I think one of the main reasons was just to like create conversation with what you said. Create conversation, create a spark. I'm Kanye West. I wore the MAGA hat,
right? And
now it's White Lives Matter. It's just something else to keep me out there, to just keep people talking about what I'm doing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Going against the grain, creating conversation. Now, is there a deeper connotation to really why he wore it? I don't know. I mean, maybe the interview that he did with Tucker Carlson on Fox 5.
Which I still got to see that.
Yeah, I saw parts of it, but maybe that can unravel more of the reasons why he wore the shirt, and people kind of take their opinion on that. But Kanye's he ain't crazy.
Well, one of the things that you said, Rich, was that he's a genius.
Yes.
Right. Well, he's a musical genius, right? Like, you could be a genius in medicine and be crap at fixing my car.
True.
And so we carry on this energy of him being a genius in music. And to this point, I guess, if you subscribe to the idea that no press is bad press, he's a marketing genius. But does that mean he is qualified to speak on the topics that he's speaking on to that point? Because we're giving him bandwidth. We're giving him airtime.
Big time.
One of the questions that Glad asked you, which was important, was, did you give a shit? Did you care? Because right now, there are people in Mississippi who don't have water. They don't give a shit about Kanye.
True.
That's the last thing on their minds.
Absolutely.
There are women who are getting massacred in Iran for wearing a hijab. Kanye and the Gap will figure themselves out. There are people in Flint, Michigan who have no water. There are people in Bed-Stuy. There are people in Wine Dance. There are people all around the world that have way more things to worry about than whatever Kanye is doing right now. And
True.
Fox doesn't matter to them.
Right.
So he's a genius, but in what regard? And why would anybody, no judgment here, but why would anybody give that kind of emotional bandwidth to it?
Right.
I guess to give you a response, I think he's a genius in the sense of in creating conversation. Just in the sense of, I want to be the topic of discussion for however long this is going to last, a week, 2 weeks, 3 months, whatever. But how am I going to create a spark plug and attention to whatever else is going on right now? You know what? I'm going to put on a White Lives Matter shirt on, and I'm going to feature in the fashion show. That's definitely going to get people riled up, and that's exactly what happened.
Now,
I don't know what the end goal is. I really don't know what the end goal is, but just wearing it, I think at that moment, for being a marketing major, that's genius in that sense.
it's dicey. So let me ask you this then. Do you think he's trying to keep us talking about the topic, quote unquote, or do you think he's trying to keep us talking about the topic, which is Kanye?
Both.
Great question.
He wants people to talk about him. He doesn't mind the smoke. He wants all of the smoke. That's who Kanye is by now. I think we all know that by now. And again, the deeper connotation by why he wore that shirt with Candace Owens, we'll soon find out.
Of all people,
you know what I'm saying?
Of all people,
we'll soon find out.
We hope.
Of all people,
we hope.
Well. Here's probably something he didn't see coming. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I mean, all the major social media outlets shut him off, right? Because he just kept talking and talking and talking. So now he's blocked from that. And now I just saw something about Chase Bank has revoked him, or he can no longer do business. Yeezy can no longer do business for Chase Bank by the end of November.
Right.
So I don't know if he saw that coming, but how much genius is that?
Yeah, but bro,
maybe it wasn't so genius.
Again, this is why you pay certain people to be in your circle to think about certain things. Because you can't tell me there were models wearing this T-shirt, right?
Right.
It wasn't literally, they didn't just throw it on like 5 minutes before the show. Like, this was thought out. This was like literally, to me, it was designed. This was done by design for a reason. I don't know what reason it was. And, you know, it could be stupid reason. It could have just been, yo, let's just do something like, you know, let's go against the grain or whatever. But this was well thought out, and he knew of, or his team, they knew what the consequence.
I don't think they did.
The bank?
I don't think they did.
Chase Bank revoking him? He didn't know that.
You don't know the consequences.
Bro.
You don't know the
Yeezy,
consequences.
But you don't know the consequences.
No, not
That's
at
like
all.
putting on a shirt.
You said, look, I'm gonna wear this to spark conversation and rile everybody up.
If you
But
subscribe,
for Chase Bank,
if you subscribe to
say
the
you
idea
can't bank-
that no press is bad press, then no matter what, there's going to be other banks that take his money.
Yeah.
Okay,
bro.
then.
Like what? If I'm not mistaken, Adidas said, "All right, you know what? Let's renegotiate this contract. Let's talk about it again." Bro, how many athletes out there say certain things in the press, and they literally the next day the sponsors are like, "Bro, check this out. Pause. We're gonna take your, you know, we're taking the sponsorship money away. We're gonna take this away." But then a month, 2 months later, it's like, look, Tiger Woods, for example.
I'm gonna take a piece from what you said. I'm gonna take a piece from what you said in a sense that, yes, he's creating conversation. Yes, he's part genius, but I think he knows what the end goal is. I don't know what the outcome of that end goal is gonna be, but I think he knows what the end goal is gonna be,
bro.
But I think he just wanted to spark conversation.
He's a narcissist,
and he's doing that because we're talking about it.
He's a narcissist. He's a narcissist, right?
Yes, 1,000%.
He's a narcissist.
1,000%.
And that's what narcissism. He has the pure breed of narcissism, bro.
Yeah. As long as we keep talking about Kanye, and I'm not hating on the brother, you know, then he's somehow, some way going to keep generating bread for himself.
Kanye, I still love your sneakers.
Oh,
Are we done talking about Kanye? Or we can talk about
let's move. Like, black men in media.
Black men in media, bro.
Let's go, Alex. Let's talk about it.
So I mean, look, you cover. That's what your the platform that you write for is about. Talk to us about black men in media. Your thoughts on the state of black men in media.
Oh man, that's a layered...
and that's a loaded question.
No,
you can take it wherever you want to start with.
Sure, and I think being a black man in media in one way is no different than anybody being in media, right? Because everybody tells the story from their vantage point. So on a one-to-one microscopic level, that would be no different really than like a Native American woman in media or a Chinese person in media. So then the question also becomes, in what space are you telling that story, right? If we were black people in Haiti, then the conversation not so much black men in media. We're already black. So that distinction doesn't need to be made per se, right? I think what's awesome about some of the stuff bad, even though it's negative, but some of the big negative things that have happened in recent years has made black people, and especially black men in America primarily, be more conscious and deliberate and intentional about taking control of the narrative. Not having our stories told to us anymore, but telling our stories. Mm-hmm. And making sure that we're the one passing on those stories to our kids, saying, well, hey, listen, we know what media, quote unquote, is telling you, but we're going to give you our take. Because at the end of the day, when we say black men, like if we were in Japan, it would still be black men telling media in Japan. But if we're in Ghana, the black part, unless we're talking about under a white umbrella, doesn't really need to be made clear. We'd automatically be black by default. Mm-hmm. So black men in media is primarily, I think, us having conversations in non-black spaces and in reclaiming our narrative.
I agree with you, and I'll take and I'll add to that and say not only is that important, but I think a repetition of that is important. I think, and Rob, we spoke about that when we just taped our podcast not too long ago. Well, before Alex came, that you know, our culture or people who may be listening to us talking about real estate, investing, fixing your credit or whatever, they may be hearing us talk about it. They may be hearing Earn Your Leisure talk about it, but are they out there really executing it, right? So the more and more people are hearing it is key. Because sometimes you need to hear it 7, 8, 10, 12 times, 25 times from different outlets to say, you know what, all right, I gotta finally go fix my credit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I agree with you 100%. You know, us reclaiming our power and speaking our story and our truth is 100% correct.
And what's important about it, repetition is always important, right? You want to beat things into people's heads for better or worse. And one of the things that drew me to writing a lot and creating a lot, you know, everybody here is Haitian, so you know the 3 L's of Haitian culture. Yeah, l'église, l'école, la caille, right? And so
that's actually funny.
One of the things that's important is seeing someone like yourself telling the story.
Right, you could turn the mic too.
Yeah, thanks, brother.
Yeah, you good.
Yeah, so one of the things that's important is seeing the story told by ourselves. You can look out into the universe, and I think what's dope about when we talk about black men in media, I don't know how many 12, 13, 14-year-old black boys can look into the universe and see someone who looks like them doing something they want to do that may not be cool, or maybe they don't know the path, or right? There's kind of this figuring it out. And you know, people always talk about representation, the importance of representation. If you can see it, you can be it. If you can perceive it, you can achieve it. The ability to perceive, you talking about credit, right? What's the joke here? Like, oh, you know, if the dude is white, you know, he got good credit. Well, since when did having good credit be separate from being black? Why can't we talk about that?
100%.
Right?
Shout out Haitian CEO.
Right.
Shout out Millionaire Essentials. You know, great, you know, black people that we've had on doing excellent with credit.
And that's the same concept, man. You know, don't get me wrong. I'm not here to knock on what anybody does, but it's important, I think, for us as black people, as Haitian people, and to see ourselves in certain spaces and say it's cool or it's normal. It's okay. Like being black doesn't make these other things unreachable or doesn't compromise your blackness.
So
absolutely, and we're gonna talk about the Haitian aspect of it too.
We definitely gonna get back to that. Like, do you think since the Black Lives Matter movement a few years ago that black, quote unquote, blackness is now like really mainstream media in a way to kind of help these companies out? Because there are ways where, I mean, you know, since George Floyd, everything is like black owned or black media or black this or black that. And a lot, like, you know, there's a certain clothing line that came out with, they had their own clothing line that represented black colleges, you know, and a major clothing line at that. Mm-hmm. So do you think ever since that happened, are they kind of like taking advantage of, is it a right way? Is this the right way to promote the blackness in America, or you think they're just doing it for marketing purposes? If you understand,
I think I do. Okay. I'm gonna ask if Gladden wants to tackle it first.
Man, this is your platform today. I think. I mean, I'll let you go first. I'll let you.
Oh, come
on! I'll tackle. I think the Fortune 500 companies, the big boys, I think they definitely saw a point where they could kind of say, you know what, this is the moment to say, you know what, I'm with the black movement, and take advantage of it for sure. Are they right? Or let's just say this. I think some did better at presenting their marketing campaigns better than other companies, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. But let's say if there was a white man in media, mm-hmm. let's say if the tables were turned, mm-hmm. would it be the same conversation? It
wouldn't be.
Yeah, but like, is it genuine?
No, it's not. they're Fortune 500 companies,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Say they're looking at the opportunity and they're saying this is a good opportunity because look, at the end of the day, right? They know that we're a buying power. They know that our buying power is a lot. Are we at the $1 trillion buying power by now?
Okay, like
so they know we control the music. They know we control the swag.
Right.
They know we control how we talk. They know that. So this Black Lives Matter moment was their opportunity to find the best marketing campaign to kind of take advantage because they know that, you know, we're buyers. They know that we're consumers, right? So all I'm saying is some of them did a better job than others at presenting their marketing campaign.
Some were bad, bro.
A lot of them were like, it was bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna buy into that. I know you're doing this for clout. You know what I'm saying? Your take before I just
I'm soaking it. I think like most things, it's layered. I think there's two conversations, and that's part of the Candace Owens, Kanye West conversation, right? Because there's Black Lives Matter as a movement, # Black Lives Matter, spreading the conversation around it, and then there's Black Lives Matter Incorporated, which was a business part, right? And so there were a lot of companies that took advantage of the movement, like you said, and push this diversity initiative. We want to show you that we're cool, that we support the Black Lives Matter energy. Are they pumping those dollars back into black communities, into black businesses? Are those companies
I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Spearheaded by black people?
Yeah.
And how much of that conversation at a higher level is about dollars and cents versus promoting whatever black initiatives are? Because sometimes, I'm going to give you guys an analogy or a story, and think about it. You have a young black child, grows up in a neighborhood, and they say, hey, everyone in my neighborhood is sick. When I grow up, I want to be a doctor. As a doctor, then I can go back and heal people. I can help. I have that knowledge. Mm-hmm. They go to college. They have all these loans, right? They have all this debt. This becomes a financial conversation now. And they graduate. Is it financially feasible for them to go back to the neighborhood where they were? That's a meta question, right? Because The heart says, listen, they're struggling. They're suffering. They are why I am here today.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't make financial sense in a lot of ways to go back. They don't even have the money to finance me. I'm hoping to recoup that. And then if I open up a practice, well, that's still a financial conversation. If I live in a neighborhood that's not there, they're going to say, oh, you forgot the culture. You're not one of us.
Right.
So I think it's a case-by-case basis. I think there's a lot of companies that were well-intentioned, didn't carry it out.
Yeah.
I think there are some companies that took advantage of the movement. I think there was a paper that came out that one of the companies that made a lot of money off of Black Lives Matter was a white-owned company that took that money and actually funneled it back into white supremacy. Or I know this sounds really, conspiracy theorists.
Mm-hmm.
But it was such a hot-selling thing at the time that people were just buying Black Lives Matter swag, not even thinking about where does the dollar go back to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really bigger conversation.
It's a big conversation. It's a big conversation.
It's a big conversation. I think to me, like at the time when Black Lives Matter really truly came out,
right.
The intentions were there. The good intentions were there. Female, I think there were like two. I think there were 3 females that
I honestly don't even.
Remember. Because when I first, I was at an event and I saw them speaking, and they too were talking about Black Lives Matter and what it meant to them and why they created that movement. It's definitely not what they thought it was going to be. It turned out to be, a few years ago. But I think they may have been bought out.
By who?
The powers that be. To me, I don't think Black Lives Matter today is what it was back maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Here's what's scary about that. For you to say that they were bought out means that there was something from which they could have been bought out. Because if MLK said nonviolence, right? That was the whole thing, nonviolence. And then if he was here around today, it's not heretical, but he's like, you know what? We're gonna get on social media, #nonviolence.
Right.
And then we're gonna make nonviolence bumper stickers.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're gonna make nonviolence t-shirts. At what point is it more about the merch and the dollars and cents versus the movement of nonviolence? And is he wrong for going either way?
Yeah, but you're right. I see where you're coming from. But I still
You're
think
looking at it from the authentic side. It didn't feel authentic to you.
It didn't feel authentic because at the end of the day, I think it was more about dollars and cents. Someone said, you know what? I'm going to take Team Sock by Say podcast and I'm going to just promote it all over the place. We're going to market this big time in Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's wearing merch, t-shirt, hats, whatever it is. And we walk away from literally Team Sock by Say and we move on to the next. And now they create this movement and it's literally not what we wanted. But we looked at it at a point where it was just like, you know what? This is the 5. Let's say we sell it for whatever amount, and we walk away from the movement.
Let's keep it real, Rob. When the movement, when BLM first started, it seemed authentic to you. But then when you're watching the TV and you see the white girl with the red hair saying Black Lives Matter, it didn't feel authentic to you. Is that what you're saying? I love you, white girl with the red hair. But
there's nothing.
Is that what you're saying?
I just don't. I think they took it and it was a marketing thing for them. It was marketing.
Okay.
It was marketing for a lot of these Fortune 500 companies. It was marketing for a lot of these restaurants. It's marketing when you see a rainbow flag in front of a restaurant. That to me, like this country, it preys on certain this country. To me, this is my opinion.
Sure.
We talk about black men in media. We going all over. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. I think this country preys on a lot of. This country is an opportunist. Am I right? I mean, we've seen.
I agree with you to that point. I mean,
hip hop.
Black
men in media.
I agree with you to that point.
I mean, I'm not to go against what your
but it's
your platform.
This is a capitalist. We live in a capitalist society, do we not? So sure. it's all about the money, bro.
Well, everything's about the money, though. I want you to show me the country on the planet that doesn't run on my, like, show it to me.
Yeah.
Just I don't want it, right?
Yeah.
And then human nature, I think, is really about everybody getting into a position where they can better whatever they're trying to promote. So I don't fault people for that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the question becomes, like you said, team stock passe.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not, what's the ultimate mission? Is there a place where it gets too big or too much about dollars and cents, where walking away and even destroying it because it's already accomplished its mission is the right next step?
You think
We would have to dictate that.
Right.
But yeah,
that's the
you're right.
conversation.
That's a great conversation.
Right?
You think BLM took that?
I think for you to say that someone bought it out, which happens means that there was something to buy out.
Do you know that? I mean, I don't know that. Do you
No,
know that
I don't know that for sure.
okay.
But the conversations that I've heard,
Okay.
yeah, people have said.
That's my thing. Like, what's your mission?
Mm-hmm.
What's your mission? When we talk about black men in media, Bob Johnson. Bob Johnson was the CEO and owner of BET.
Mm-hmm.
And then he sold it to Viacom. Did he do the wrong thing? Right? Like, and that's not a question to be answered. I mean, unless you feel you have an answer.
Mm-hmm.
But did he do the wrong thing? Because, I just had a conversation with Tristan Walker, CEO of Bevel.
Mm-hmm.
And he sold his company to Procter & Gamble. And there are people who said, you might have sold out, man. Like Bevel and Form, which is like Bevel for women. The whole thing was about black men and women who needed hair care products.
Mm-hmm.
And he sold his company to Procter & Gamble. Mm-hmm. And he's still the CEO. And they'd be like, yo, you sold out. Because as black entrepreneurs, what do you always talk about? Ownership, equity, keep it in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, number one, anybody who looks at my business will realize I have the same values from back then as I do now. Number two, from a business perspective, the reach that I have, I would not have had I stayed at that level. So I want you to tell me why people think I sold out. What are they holding on to? What were they looking for?
Mm-hmm.
And there are other CEOs who could make the same argument. We could take it to the fashion game. Damon John Fubu.
I was just thinking, yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of the same thing. He started off great buzz in the community, and he did a manufacturing deal with a big distributor. Did he sell out? Did he not? You know what I'm saying? Look, I'm dropping. The energy's like, I don't know. But Dapper Dan, right? That's another one, right? Yeah. He said this on many platforms. He's like, look, the reach, the distribution, I don't have it. I got the creativity, but the resources.
The resources. We lack resources.
Did he sell out?
Right.
We lack resources. Yeah. We definitely. I have to. Yeah, you're right.
Do we need? So maybe we need to be entrepreneurs in these kind of sectors. You know what I'm saying? So, it won't feel so much that we're selling out per se. I don't know.
Well, so one of the things that I think about as Haitian, because we're all Haitian men here at the table, which is interesting, is conceptually, I think we're playing in a closed market.
What do you mean?
All right. So follow me here. There's this phrase, the internalization of the blank gaze. Does that make any sense?
No.
Go ahead.
Great.
Explain.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use another story. Part of me being a writer.
No. I like this.
So there was this young lady that I was seeing at the time. And I used to love to take photos of her. Beautiful woman. But I would always take like these candids. Mm-hmm. And she felt uncomfortable. Now, I'm sure you guys have known, like, whenever you take a photo of your girl, she's like, take this one, take that one. No, don't get me out. She's really mindful of that.
Mm-hmm.
And me being a more academically inclined dude, I couldn't emotionally grasp why she was so upset. So I actually went and read. And it turned out that a lot of women don't like people taking candid photos of them because at that moment, they're no longer in control of how they get to be perceived. Mm-hmm. If they want to be sexual when they want to be sexual, they want to be human when they want to be human. They want to be cool when they want to be cool. Mm-hmm. So a lot of women get upset because they feel like they have to move in a world where they live via the internalization of the male gaze. They don't get to be. They have to first see how men see them and then try to move around that. Mm-hmm. Right? So now as Black people in America, and even the world, because of how American concepts spread, a lot of Black people, without even thinking about it, are viewing themselves first within the white gaze. Right? We've got to think about, oh, don't do this, don't do that. You know, don't act this way. Even when we're amongst ourselves. But why can't we just be? And that spills out into how we move in business. The reason why I bring up us being Haitian is we get...
I'm sorry. I'm just like...
What?
Are we going to talk and start saying the N-word to each other in an elevator full of white people?
Who knows?
Because you're just saying, like, just be.
Yeah.
So we just be, or do we just, like, damn, bro? You know what I'm saying?
Why not own it? At what point do we stop feeling uncomfortable?
But at that point, because it's like, do I say that in an elevator full of white people with you? Or is it like, it's not a good representation of us?
See, but when you say it's not good representation, that's an internalization of a gaze, because you're worried about how another might receive it. Mm-hmm. Whereas I don't know if white people are as worried how you perceive them until you come in the room. Right? They're not internalizing you first to decide how they move. Whereas when you say it's not a good representation, to whom? To whom?
But there's trauma behind that. There's trauma because we're very emotional. We're emotional people.
Sure.
You know, I think when we engage in conversation amongst, let's say we're all sitting here, like we're more comfortable. If there was a white man here, would we be as comfortable? So the conversation changes. There's certain things that he may not understand. Not even about being just Haitian.
Right.
It's just black men in general.
And I love how you said that, this conversation, this dialogue, because that's what allows things to flow. Mm-hmm. When you don't have conversation or dialogue, it's people's ideologies and philosophies pushing up subconsciously against each other and one imposing on the other. So you have a discomfort, but you're not leaning into what they call creative conflict. It's like you not feeling cool with something your shorty did. And instead of telling her, you feel uncomfortable and now you try to maneuver around it. But why should she change how she's moving if you never say, yo, ma, this doesn't work? You never have that dialogue. There's no dialogue. Right. There's no open conversation. Right. And so even you to be like, yo, Rob, that don't work for me. That's cool. As long as you don't take it as an offense, like, absolutely, let's have this open conversation. Mm-hmm. But if you say something, he don't feel cool about it, and he never tells you anything, don't think it doesn't impact how he starts to move with you. And don't think in reverse, it doesn't impact how you move with him. At what point does he say, yo, Rob, you told me something that don't jive, man. Mm-hmm. I love you, brother. And at what point do you say, yo, Glad, this is what's going on, and we're having dialogue. And that needs to happen at a macro level.
100%. This is deep, bro.
Yeah, this is deep. It's definitely is deep.
Do you want to expound on that, Rob, or do we go to another topic? Because Joe doesn't even have the timer. The timer's not even going. He's like letting us go.
Just letting us go.
I don't know, bro.
This is a great conversation because it can go deeper when we start talking about this whole, black, white, dialogue, or like certain things that I think some people are afraid. Some people are afraid to say, I don't like the way you spoke this way towards me because now it offended me and my culture. And I think nowadays there are certain conversations that can't be said because of BLM, or I'm going to be sent to HR. I don't know how to present. It's also on them. There's a lack of education. Mm-hmm. There's also a way of there are certain things that we oppose on certain people, where it's like, yeah, I'm a black man, and you should watch what you say, and more power to BLM. But there's so much conversation. I think people are more sensitive nowadays. Mm-hmm. And there's certain things that we should say out in the room if it's uncomfortable, if it's amongst us, if it's amongst other cultures, if it's whatever. If you don't like it, say something. But I think we're so sensitive in certain ways where if someone offends, they say something that's very offensive, it's like, damn, should I say something? Because they're thinking about the what if later on. They're thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, dialogue needs to happen, but it is more of a sensitive culture. Would you agree or not?
Oh, you mean in the United States or
in general?
In general, like within the culture, like
50-50. So I do think people are more sensitive in the sense that most people have their face in the screen. And I say that all the time. So when you have your face in TV, you have your face in the phone, it creates this feedback loop. You already go into that thing looking for people who validate how you think the world already is without any proof of, is that how the world is?
I agree with that.
And then you walk out in the real world and you think everybody's crazy, not realizing everybody's living in their own head. Everybody's living in their own reality. One of the cool things about being Haitian, I think, is that it allows us to play more of a global game, both at a literal level and a figurative level, right? We live in the United States, but we don't necessarily fall under the general umbrella of Black American as it's defined colloquially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
How do we navigate being Black per that definition? How do we navigate not being seen as Haitian enough? Because that happens. Oh, you're not real Haitian, but very Haitian and stuff. How do we navigate that as men in terms of perceptions of what real Black maleness is? Because not everybody's hood, not everybody's thug, not everybody went upstate. And that, there's no right or wrong to that. But for those who may not fall into those things, do not having those markers compromise your Blackness, and in what way? How do they compromise your vision of yourself? How do you create media that is true to yourself and still connect with people who feel like maybe you're not speaking to them? And being able to do all those things with one medium, right? If you write one piece, you have no control over how people receive it. Mm-hmm. But until you press publish, it's perfect. Once you hit publish, that's it. And you have to be able to speak to it. And I think that's an important part of, how we're moving.
What is your take? And well, let me start off by saying this. Mm-hmm. Have you been keeping up with the news of what's been going on in Haiti? But we don't have a president right now, and all of that stuff.
So have I been keeping up, or what's my take?
Yeah, have you been keeping? Like, do you keep it up somewhat?
I know that there are plenty of people who are way more in the weeds than I am, but a little bit here and there. Yeah,
Just wanted to take your take on that.
50-50. I hate using that answer, but it's the truth. So, yes, there's a lot of unrest going on in Haiti, and I think it's a very fragile time. That's been the state of the country in certain pockets, and then I'm also mindful of the poverty porn, meaning that. Again, we're Black men in media. And for the people in Haiti who are going, yo, it's dangerous, it's crazy, don't come. There are plenty of other people in Haiti who are like, listen, that's over there. Here, we are right. Mm-hmm. And so you have to ask yourself, the outlets, why are they pumping certain stories? Why are they focusing on certain narratives? It doesn't mean that they're not true, because there are plenty of places, again, in these United States, the land of milk and honey, people are dying of obesity, people are dying of starvation. Mm-hmm. Right? There's rape, pillaging, and plundering in these United States. I'm not saying that that's right. It's just no matter where you go, it exists. To what degree, to what extent. So I try to keep a balanced perspective on it.
It's by design, in my opinion. I think it's done again, we go back to marketing. It's done by design. Meanwhile, people are scaring you away. But there are others that are walking into the country with no problem at all.
Right.
I like to always ask the question, why? Right? Just why?
Dollars and cents, bro.
And then I'll just keep asking the question why till I get the answer that's satisfied for me. You know what I'm saying? So
dollars and cents doesn't satisfy.
Well, sometimes it's that, but then sometimes it's more than just dollars and cents. Sometimes it's dollars and cents and just wanting to control the mind. Sometimes it's dollars and cents in the mind and just wanting to have the power. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I don't take what I see on whatever platform sometimes, meaning the news.
Right.
Okay, but then I want to know why. Sometimes I want to go deeper than that. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it is for me.
Yeah, I look at it in a way where it's done by design, just like the certain areas in this country is done by design. Certain areas in this right here in our backyard is just done by design. And fear controls that country. Fear is huge in Haiti. Like, I know a lot of people, a lot of Haitian people that don't even want to know how to swim. They're afraid of water. There was one incident with water, and then that's it. They're done. Like, fear controls that country, like, to the max. And they pump all of this stuff out into social media to scare certain people, certain individuals, certain families. Don't come here. This is what's going on. Don't come there. But then you literally scroll like 5 minutes later and you see like someone who's swimming in the village and, somewhere up, on the other side of Haiti, and they're fine. Everything is fine. Everything looks beautiful. And they're talking about, oh, I'm here in the waters. I'm doing this. I'm doing that.
It's perception. So let's talk about black men in media, the perception of how black men is perceived in the home. What's your take on that?
I struggle with it, because when we say how black men are perceived in the home, that's such a broad and almost static kind of statement. There's an assumption of what that means. I'm not the biggest fan of how the mainstream, as code, right? Mainstream presents black men in the home, because either we're absent or we're negligent, we're underperforming, we're under-delivering, when in fact a lot of us might have grown up with a father or a father figure. I don't know, my dad was in the house and present, did everything he could, and I say that when I say did everything he could, that is a supreme understatement. My dad's fucking awesome, and I'm proud to say that. And I think that's important, because as men in media, there's that conversation of is it art imitating life, or is it life imitating art? How many of us grew up with people who saw the Cosby Show and they're like, oh, that's bullshit. That's not real. But there were people living that life, right? I mean, there were black Haitian, doctors and lawyers. That's not uncommon.
Absolutely.
You go to Africa, were there no doctors or no lawyers? That doesn't exist. Everybody was out running around from Okapi. Like, no, like, like, know what I'm saying? Like, that exists. And that doesn't invalidate the reality of good times either, because that was supremely real just the same. And so I think where we are right now as black men, and the way we represent as black men in media, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but then I try to be intentional about where I consume my stuff and the stuff I watch, because I want to remind myself that, I don't want to be that kid who's like, he grew up in a good school, had a good life, and I got to make a rap album. Pops wasn't there, and I was on the street moving weight. Somebody lived that life, and it's just as real as the person who grew up with two parents, and that needs to be held just the same and not seen as compromising one's blackness.
Beautiful. Well said. Totally agree. And statistically, by the way, I've heard that and read that black men in all categories are more present in the home, earning more, want to be married. You know what I'm saying? Like, those statistics are going up. FYI.
Well, a lot of the way that they play with the data is they conflate black men being in the home with marriage rates.
Okay.
Right? So if the parents aren't married, then automatically that gets lumped under a black man not being in the house, which isn't true. Like, those are two separate things. In fact, you could have people that are married and the father is completely negligent or financially absent or whatever, or it's an unhealthy dynamic. But because they're married and you look at other demographics, their marriage rates are higher, then they automatically code that as, oh, well, their fathers are in the home. But what does that mean? Like, I could live across country from my wife. Is that the same as me being in the home? And so there has to be teasing out the data. You're a marketing dude, so how you present the data, even on a graph, even the visual representation may not be the truth. And they're just playing with it. So
why is the black culture like so? What is it about our blackness? What is it about black culture, black men in media, black period? What is it? Why is it so powerful in media?
I would say that, especially in the Western Hemisphere, after the transatlantic slave trade, those of us who've made it from an evolutionary and genetic standpoint are the best of breed, right? We're the best. And I don't say that in this like arrogant way, like, but just from a genetic standpoint, if you tried to get rid of something or exterminate it, the ones that survived had to be the best. That's just how it works, right? You would only pick the strongest, the smartest, the fastest. And despite us being 13% of the population, we dictate so much of the culture, right? That's important. There's always been this want for other cultures to lean on what we've brought, to, take the music, to borrow from it. When you think about American culture, it gets so easily conflated with white culture, right? We talk about being black in media, but there's no real conversation about being white in media. It's assumed by default. So that means we are black people operating in a primarily white space. And yet we have so much impact that you can't, in fact, when you think about American culture, and that's not to disgrace anybody or to diminish anybody, black, white, Asian, whatever, you don't have what we have today without the black story. It doesn't exist. So how do we own that? How do we be proud of that? How do we not allow ourselves to be diluted? Again, how do we not see ourselves day in and day out through the white gaze? Because this is not a conversation I think that's being had around the other parts of the diaspora and even back in Africa. They just get to be. Mm-hmm. I had a conversation with Salema Masekela. I don't know if you know who that is, son of Hugh Masekela, South African band leader. And he was huge in extreme sports. This is Salema. Mm-hmm. And he talked about how when we think about surf sports or board sports, skiing and things like that, we automatically jump to the concept of someone in Malibu or someone in Australia surfing. And we go, like you said, right? We're black. We don't do that. But what the fuck do you think people were doing in Africa? Right? Hiking? We don't do that. So I guess the mountains were never touched by Africans. Of course they hike. Like it just doesn't, but we don't see it that way, right? We're seeing ourselves through somebody else's lens, and we're never asking ourselves, who told us that story? Who told us, right? Like, brother, I'm a huge Malcolm X fan. He said, who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose? Where'd that come from? And no one ever unpackages that. So as black people in media, and again, I go back to that, the beauty of being Haitian is we get to have a foot in both worlds. We get to see how some people can move in a space of being without thinking of this or without carrying that burden. And then I might even say, this is my own thing, there's maybe a certain charge that we have, which is why we take this space to maybe liberate people past 1804 psychologically, right? Take the shackles off their feet, but also take it off their minds and realize there's a space where you can be too. But first, ask yourself, who programmed you to think this way?
Yeah. No, that's deep, bro.
That's deep, bro.
That's deep. And,
well said.
Yeah, it's very, very well said. Like, I mean, it definitely, I think we still have the shackles in our minds. We're still shackled. We're still in a bubble. I think little by little, I would hope to say, like, I would hope to think like a third, fourth generation down, like things will change, or things by then would have been like they think about it and say, okay, back 40 years ago, this is what they planted,
right? And
look what harvested. You know what I'm saying? So there are certain things that I look at in the black community where it's like, again, go back to BLM, like it's planting the seeds, but then I think we still have a lot to do to get, as a culture. Mm-hmm. We still have that togetherness to work towards. I think as a culture, at times we are selfish because we were taught that way. I think there are certain ways where it's like, I want to say, like within the Haitian culture, the way the country is, I think we're at fault also because we allowed it. Just like the black culture, the American black culture here, we allowed certain things to happen, and we're always waiting for a handout, and that's what upsets me. And when that handout comes, it's like, I'll choose this person, I'll choose that person because it's great marketing, it's going to make money for me. But like you said earlier, where is that money going? Is it coming back into the community? Are we allowing that, certain things to happen within our community? Are we saying no to certain things, or we're just accepting it? And I think we accept a lot of things because that's just the way it is.
And part of what you said, we got to deal with a lot of trauma.
A lot of trauma.
A lot of past traumas, and we need healing. We definitely need healing. So, like you said, can nobody else tell our story but us? And we have to take control of that, especially being black men in media.
I want to ask both you guys a question, right? Yeah. So I spoke with Bobby Carter, who is the musical producer for Tiny Desk. I don't know if you guys have heard of NPR Tiny Desk.
No.
Yeah, I know. Have you guys seen the Usher meme? Watch this.
Oh yeah.
Right? Yeah. So NPR has this thing called Tiny Desk that they've been doing for years.
Okay.
And that's where artists show up and do this real intimate kind of performance.
Okay.
They've been doing it for a long time.
Okay.
Right.
I know you're talking. Okay.
And the question that I ask, and is especially in America, there has to be a breakdown of what it means to be American, because I think, again, Malcolm X has said if being American was a birthright, you wouldn't have to be fighting so hard for it in the first place. Mm-hmm. My question to you guys is, do you think we'll arrive at a spot, particularly as Haitian Americans who may not have as much ownership of the general Black American narrative? Mm-hmm. Do you think we'll ever arrive at a place where there won't be a need for things like Black History Month or Black Music Month because it's just seen as being part of the general American fabric?
With everything comes evolution, and I would like to say yes, but we'll wait to see.
It's going to be a hard fight. It's going to be tough, bro, because I think we have a lot of recreating, a lot of therapy, like Glad said, a lot of therapy to do within ourselves, within our own communities. Is it changing? A little bit. I applaud those who took the front line to say, okay, enough is enough. They created all kinds of movements and they're more outspoken now. But yeah, I think it's going to be a fight before we see, because the other cultures are always ahead. Again, because we allow them to be ahead.
And you're asking that in a sense where it's not like we're fighting for attention, but more so there wouldn't be a need for a Black History Month because kind of everybody's on the same playing field. Is that what you kind of
right?
I don't think this country will ever be accepted. I don't think they'll ever accept it.
Who's they? Are we not
the powers that be?
What does that even mean?
Isn't
that the beauty of us owning our narrative? I mean, at what point do we stop saying they and we become they?
Correct.
Yes.
I think evolution. I think it's evolution, and you said something earlier, kind of, and I'm just gonna kind of bring it back to, and I'm gonna ask both of y'all this question.
Sure.
Don't forget your point, but what he asked, as far as we probably won't need for a Black History Month. Do you guys think we'll ever need to function without money? Do you think we'll ever be at a point in life, in this humanity, maybe not our lifetime, that we won't need money?
What do you mean by that? Because
we won't need.
like crypto's gonna take over kind of thing, or
I was thinking about that. I was like,
right. Like
I'm just asking
So-
a real out of the ballpark question.
like
No,
a black
man.
crypto.
Do you
No.
look at Joe?
No,
Joe looking at me
no.
like. Joe looking at me like.
no. I mean,
Like
Do you? I mean, you think we'll need some type of form
course,
of exchange? Some type of
yes.
okay.
Currency is
Yeah.
always going to be around.
Okay, I'm
Gold.
just asking.
Right.
We getting, you know.
right, yeah.
I'm not smoking nothing, y'all. I'm just
I
asking
don't
a
know,
question.
No, it's a
man.
great question. I'm just trying to
don't
think.
know.
Like,
Just
I
asking a
think
question.
currency
Right.
runs. It makes the economy like there's
Makes the world go around. Okay.
It makes
Yeah,
the world go around. I mean, there's trading. There's all kinds of sorts of things back then. It was gold. It was there were farms. There was cattle. There were but there was some form of currency involved.
Right.
I don't think it'll ever go away. If you're talking about the power of the currency
I'm just saying, go away. Period.
Nah, man.
I don't think so.
Nah. Penguins give penguins shiny stones. And all kinds of quirky facts. Again, but
Okay.
yeah. So there's gonna be some form of currency.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I don't know if we've come to that Wakandan place yet, where we just all zip around on vibranium. But for now, there's got to be something going on.
I went a little off topic, but Black History Month.
You sound like
I
me
think,
now.
Yeah.
I
No,
think
just
with
funny.
evolution, I think we may not need it, bro. That's a great. I mean, that was a great question. That was a great question.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
not
it's-
denouncing my blackness or that I'm not proud of being black, but
Right.
with everything, life, there is evolution.
I that is true. I see where you're coming from, but let me ask you guys this question:
Mm-hmm.
Being Haitian American, born here in the States, right? Do you feel when growing up, did your parents teach you about Black history?
So I'm going to tackle this one. And I think that's a key question, right? Because when we say Black history, did they? Yeah, as a Haitian. And so there's this conflation between what it means Black History Month in these United States, and that's not right or wrong, versus other parts of the world. If we grew up in Ghana, this is not a conversation. It's not. We don't have 1 foot here, 1 foot there. We're not internalizing ourselves via the white gaze. We're not trying to understand who we are through someone else's history. So I can't say that they didn't teach me to the best of their ability.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what kind of Black history and how that impacts how I connect with the rest of the world as an adult is a different conversation. Because there were conversations around Dessalines. There were conversations around Toussaint Louverture. And I did have conversations around MLK and Brother Malcolm, right? And Marcus Garvey and Crispus Attucks.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have people who are only getting one side of the conversation and not the other. The beauty of being Haitian American, I think, is it allows us to be more global citizens, right? We still remember that we're children of the diaspora, but we're probably the most African, if you will, of the children of the diaspora, even the language we speak, even our look. And so none of us are here by choice in that sense, right? I mean, we didn't come through Ellis Island, right? Our lineage didn't come through the Mayflower.
Mm-hmm.
But by virtue of being probably the most African of the children of the diaspora, then we're probably the ones that also have the most connection to quote unquote the motherland. I mean, we are the ones that had independence in 1804. We are the ones that also helped spread the concept of independence to these other nations. Our flag is the one that inspired the flags of the other countries in South America and Central America. We are the ones that sent troops to Louisiana to fight.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, to answer your question, did my parents teach me Black history? Yes. Did they teach it in the way that is probably defined within these United States? Now it merits a little bit more teasing out.
Well said. I agree with that.
Okay.
100%. I agree with that. I mean, at the end of the day, our culture is so rich, bro, that the teachings of how they teach it in the United States, it just goes much deeper. They're just scratching the surface.
So I grew up in a neighborhood in Brooklyn where, to be honest, there was no such. The only Black history that I knew about is what my parents taught me, and perhaps like the encyclopedias back then. This is slavery.
Right.
You know, it wasn't until
Took you back to Encyclopedia.
Encyclopedia Britannica. It wasn't until I got to college that I truly understood what Black in America meant.
Right.
Because growing up in certain households, like I think as a subculture of Haitian Americans, like they separate themselves. Like we see it, you know, it's the Caribbean versus Black American. Oh, you're Black American. I don't want to deal with you. You're Black, you know. But then it's like it's changing a little bit now. But I think back then, because of our parents, where they came from, and their mindset, saying, you know, that this is how, when I come to this country, you know, the Black man is this, or the Black American is lazy, or the Black American is whatever, and that doesn't concern us. What's going on? The marches doesn't concern us. The protesting, it doesn't concern us. And I literally hear conversations in people's households saying, I didn't teach my child. I forbid them from hanging out with certain Black Americans because they were too, you know, pro black. And it's sad. It's sad.
Is that being racist towards our own innocence?
To me, yeah.
I mean,
I'm just asking a question.
It's problematic to me because what I'm hearing is their fight is not our fight, and yet there wants to be a benefit from their struggle.
Absolutely.
So there's issues around that for me. I think there's also a question around understanding and forgiveness. So we're from New York, and I got my boy who lives in LA. How much sense would it make if we went out to Cali and 3 months in, we're still rocking Carhartts and Timbs? Right? Like there's this difficulty with letting go of your own culture and sometimes feeling like, yo, I'm losing my identity by trying to adapt. At what point is it adaptation, and what point do you feel like you've over-assimilated? Because back in Haiti, there's a way that they taught Black Americans were as well, whether that's right or wrong. That's that bias, right? People who've never met Black people have a way they think Black people are. The same way I'm sure we have Black friends who really don't interact with white people. And they're like, oh, white people are like this. I'm like, well, how much have you traveled? Have you ever been here? No. Well, then, so everything you know about them is based on what you are already looking for that confirms your bias on TV, on radio, on your computer. How can you speak on that?
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of our parents and the grandparents came in with that mindset and never let go. And because it worked well enough, I don't think they really understood the long-term ramifications of that. You know, we talk about trauma. There's a trauma of being Black, and there's a lot of great Haitian American content creators. When you look at the stuff that they create, a lot of it's about the pain of growing up Haitian American.
Yeah, right. They turned that trauma into comedy.
You got to find a way to manage that too.
It's creative. No, it's very creative.
It's very creative.
Yeah,
we could keep talking and talking. Your closing remarks on Black men in media, and we'll probably have you come back on and do a part 2 because this is just good stuff.
Nah, man. First of all, I'm glad that you guys invited me, man. I mean, what's dope about it is that it was a chance occurrence, right? Your boy, like real spit. I was taking an Uber, and I don't remember the gentleman's name.
Dave, shout out Dave, yeah.
And we just had a conversation, Dave and I. He was like, yo, you mad dope, man. Where you from? And I was like, yo, I'm Haitian. He's like, yo, my boy Glad is Haitian. Yo, I got to make y'all link up.
Oh, that's what's up.
Just on some happenstance. Yeah. And that's what's led to today. My concept on Black men in media, man, I think for me, this is a personal charge. I don't know if you ever heard this line, we are the ones we're looking for.
No, I haven't. I haven't heard that. That's a powerful line.
Right?
That is powerful.
And so I think one of my big things about being a Black man in media is, again, remembering myself being that 11, 12, 13-year-old kid who tried to see himself in the world and couldn't quite find it.
Mm.
And now as a man, I have the ability to be what I was looking for and be that for that 11, 12-year-old, 13 kid today who's looking for someone like him.
A mentor.
A mentor, but also an image, right? Like how, you know how like people always said, oh, we didn't believe a black president could happen and until Barack happened.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't believe X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. And I think as black men in media, it's important for us to be mindful, intentional of the power we have to control the narrative and then create the narratives we want to see in the world. Create the stories that aren't being told, because there's a lot of beautiful, rich stories that haven't been told, either because people aren't even aware and because there are certain powers that be that don't want those stories told. Mm-hmm. And I think that's our charge to do that.
I agree, and I think that's one of the reasons why we started this podcast, Rob, to tell, reach out to get as many people as we can through our network to tell their story, to inspire that person out there. You know what I'm saying? To go out there and execute and to be inspired. Yeah,
absolutely, man. I think black men in media is dope. I think that tag, that line, that just the phrase is really dope, and I think it needs to be spoken about. It needs to be more of it. You know?
And whatever we can do to have that conversation, we definitely will. Mm-hmm. Black men in media, I think it's powerful. I think with people like Earn Your Leisure, the fellas from Earn Your Leisure, for what you're doing as a journalist, from what we're doing, there's a lot of black men in media talking their narrative and inspiring a lot of other black people and people in general. Mm-hmm. And I think we just got to keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's definitely dope, to see black and brown people doing a lot of great things. There's so many out there that we haven't even heard of or whatever. Look how we met.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I definitely applaud your work.
Likewise, man.
Sure.
Likewise, I'm glad that this happened.
No doubt. Do we have time for a quick question?
Yeah.
We're gonna do a quick surprise question. We're not asking the question.
Yeah.
Oh
man. Whatever you get, bro. I wish you good luck.
I hope it's not something too crazy.
No.
Let's
go for it.
Let's see. Oh, it's a packet. That's how it works.
The packet is just to make the noise.
Yeah.
They always pick the packet. Right? What you got? You can read it out loud to the folks. What you got?
Oh, I got. Is this one? It is one.
It's one.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you can sit and have dinner with someone, who would it be and why?
Bro, you're a journalist. This is all you.
So it would have to be someone that clearly I've never met with before. Dinner with someone and why? It's funny. I feel like I've answered this question before in my mind and now I'm freezing. Damn. Dinner with someone and why?
Malcolm X?
You know what? Nah. I mean,
just because you said
you know. True. I mean, I feel like that's an easy answer and it's not inaccurate. So it's either him or maybe it's either him or Nelson Mandela. Right? I mean, I'm a huge Malcolm fan, man. When you think about the arc of that man's life, in terms of somebody who had all the reason in the world to carry that rage. I don't know if you know the story of his childhood. His father.
Talk about it, yeah.
His father being murdered at a young age, and people saying that his father was accidentally run over by a rail car, when odds are that it was not odds are, but his father was killed for being too smart, and that led to him being one of many children going into foster care. And he goes into Detroit Red, and the arc of that man's life and his power. Like when people talk about Black pride, it just a story of redemption. And then Nelson Mandela, I think in terms of forgiveness, you know what I'm saying? Like that's hard because a lot of what we carry internally is about feeling cheated, disenfranchised, or a righteous rage. Like, a lot of times things happen, and it is within your right, I think, to feel so angry.
Mhm.
Dude, to spend 20, 30, 40 years in prison.
That's crazy.
That's wild.
Wow.
That's wild.
That's crazy.
That's wild.
And to still carry, to somehow find it in yourself. I mean, people talk about being Christ-like. I mean, I don't know, and I'm sure there are other people who have, but when you mention these names, that's really what it is, saying that, you know what, somehow, some way I found it, despite the torture, despite families being torn apart. When he was younger, he was this angry, rageful person. And I think a lot of us, that's how we are. When we're younger, we understand disenfranchisement.
Mm-hmm.
And we have that testosterone as men and, to go out and change. I'm going to be the one that changes the world.
Mm-hmm.
And some of us are lucky to.
Mm-hmm.
And some of us do it through the slow and steady grind.
Mm-hmm.
Had he come out of prison, that same angry man, I don't know if we revere him and understand him as a Nelson Mandela we know today.
Agreed. Powerful, man. Powerful.
Who would you want to send?
Wow. Kanye West, bro.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
You know what?
I want to know why.
He would love it. Would love it.
I want to know why, bro. I mean, look, I know he does what he does is strategic. I know he there's a plan behind, there's an end goal. Maybe the end goal is just to spark conversation and just have his name on people's tongues. Maybe that's his end goal because he's got a new line coming out, a new line of sneakers or whatever. But I want to know why. Like, bro, why? You know what I'm saying? So that would be my person. You?
Ooh. Donald Trump.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah. I would definitely have
That's
to
a
sit
good
down and just pick his brain because I want to know why too. And also, how does he feel being like one of the most hated presidents in the United States history ever? Like the whole world, and there are conspiracy theorists out there that think otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I get it. There are a lot of Trump supporters, but I always want to, like the most hated one, I always want to understand their mindset. I always want to dig deep and say, okay, like, just like how you say Kanye West, like you saying like why, so people are like throwing rocks at him and shading him and all kinds of stuff, and I just want to sit there and just say, like, what's going through your mind now? Like, how do you feel? Like, why do you think people are against you? Is it because you're too real or like what's? Yeah.
Hey, they threw rocks at Jesus.
Right. Maybe he thinks of himself that way.
Maybe he thinks it's, I don't know. I'm not saying he is, but
I mean that's.
But that would be somebody to have
Absolutely.
a good conversation and find out why. You know what I'm saying? For
Right.
sure.
Yeah, man.
Great talk, man. Great talk.
Thank you.
Thanks again for this. We'll definitely have you on again soon one time, man. For sure. We'll talk about Black Men in Media Part 2. Maybe we'll talk about Black women in media or black women.
That would be important.
Woo,
that's
powerful.
Important.
Woo,
that's huge.
We probably need a female.
I was just gonna say
probably a female, right?
Yeah, sure.
To make it to balance it out.
Sure. There's been a lot of testosterone. There's a lot of testosterone.
Right.
So
we'll figure it out.
Definitely need a female point of view.
Rob, housekeeping items.
Housekeeping items. Team Sock Passe podcast. Team Sock Passe on all platforms. And remember, Team Sock Passe again. Subscribe, please. We gotta up those subscriptions. Subscribe, share, and comment. We love those comments. Also, thank you to Sweet 1041. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Also, Tenwa TV. Thank you. Also, Roots of Brooklyn. Also, Sweet 100. Thank you for the sponsors. We appreciate you guys. Keep it coming. And yeah, Team Sock Passe. Remember that. And Alex, where can they? If people want to ask questions, I know they're gonna ask you a lot of questions. Where? Give the people where they.
So Me directly, the best way to reach me would actually be via IG. I'm on IG, Alex_Zephyr. That's ZEPHYR. And if you want to read my stuff, I'm on Cassius Life. So that's Cassius, CASSIUS, similar to Cassius Clay, like Muhammad Ali. And, and I always say this, there's a lot of great content out there. Don't just follow me, follow these gentlemen. Just keep the conversation going. This is a live convo. So I appreciate the follows, the likes, the comments. I want it. But I also want y'all to, just keep this brewing. This is hopefully the beginning of something great.
No doubt. No doubt.
Thank you, man.
Team Sock by Say.
We out.
We out.